Hey there everybody, this is SXE Blues, and what I'm doing today is a sort of follow-up to my Doctor Who review and post-Day of the Moon theories and ideas videos, respectively. I got some comments on the theories and ideas one that because I've been under the weather for the past couple days, I'm kind of taking a page out of the book of a friend on YouTube. I just subscribed now. Who I'm sure you're familiar with, and if you're not, I highly suggest you go check out his channel, who's been doing video responses to some of the many PMs and comments he's been getting, and since I have a small handful that have built up in the last 2 days, rather than commenting in response to each one specifically, I thought I'd do a what may be 1 or 2 parts video response to the comments, and I'm going to reference ones that I both did respond to, as well as a small handful that I have not yet responded to, just to kind of, touch base with everyone who's taken the time. And who knows, if this is, something positively received, maybe I'll do it again in the future. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already, because if you leave a comment and I decide to do this again at some point, you don't want to miss if I responded to you specifically. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the first comment that I actually did respond to, and I'll read both what the commenter said and what I said in response, and we'll move along from there. So the first comment I got was from Rick the Id 89, who said the larger TARDIS could have left the larger flat and jumped to 1969. I could be way off here, but I think the larger TARDIS is the dead Doctor's TARDIS that he lost in some way, if not Omega's. So I basically, said that's not a bad point, because the Doctor that seems to die, and for me personally, I think it's, a debatable whether that was even really the Doctor. I'm kind of leaning toward the idea that maybe it wasn't. But it's definitely something I did notice, that Doctor seemed to be without a TARDIS, and it's kind of like, what's up with that? Why did he drive out to the desert? Does he maybe not have a TARDIS, or which I think I said in my previous video? But great idea from Rick the 89. It would explain where the TARDIS silence we're using came from. So definitely a good point. The next commenter was the Happy Days 999, who said, the interesting arc for me is the relationship between Rory and the Doctor. Rivals? Rory for me will be significant. I don't believe he is what he seems. I have commented already that there are several unresolved questions with him. The comment from Amy that he is the man that fell from Earth, which he mistook to be the Doctor. What was he doing for 2,000 years? Harkening back to the end of the fifth series. And what happened to him at the end of episode 1 in the, quote, new TARDIS, unquote? I think, rather like the silence, he has been monitoring her for some time, meaning Amy. Yeah, this is something and I think I'll be referencing the comment in a little bit, but Amy and Rory are definitely two interesting characters, because there's somewhat of them that we're familiar with, and then there seems to be a cloak of mystery surrounding them. What I ended up saying in response to that comment was, I definitely agree. In the cases of both Rory and Amy, there just seems to be more going on than we know on one hand, and on the other, this could all be an elaborate misdirection from the Moff, Stephen Moffat. But yeah, it would be interesting to know what Rory was doing all that time, and why he's back in the Roman attire not too long a time in the series. Because frankly, the aspect, and as I say, I'll probably be referencing this in a comment momentarily, but Amy seems to have forgotten the Daleks, and Rory is talking in the Day of the Moon about sometimes forgetting what that 2,000 years was like. And then taking especially the most notable when the Doctor does the scan to see if Amy's pregnant, and the scanner doesn't seem to be able to decide. It shows both pregnant and negative. So it's almost like these two are in a state of flux. But I'll be getting to a comment that talks about what that could possibly mean. I also said to the Happy Days 999, Amy's comment falls for me deep into that category of it could be a completely throwaway line or a monumental revelation. In a previous vid I mentioned Gillen stated she says a line she thought meant nothing, and toward the end of the series actually has a big impact. But I posed the question, who's to know which line? Apparently there's something that Karen Gillan says in the show, and I had seen this video. I could not find it again. But she said she thought it was just, like a quip, that really meant nothing, but it ended up meaning something very weighty down the line in the series. Whether this has to do with, what she said about Rory or what she says about the Doctor at the beginning of The Impossible Astronaut, I think she says something like it doesn't really seem like the Doctor they know, with his gallivanting through history. It's hard to really put a finger on it because Stephen Moffat, he's almost like a master tactician in the way he's unraveling this series. So far, in the last 2 episodes, I've been blindsided like half a dozen times by where the story unfolded. So, moving on to the next comment from Mr. Jelly Babies. He says that he or she says that I referenced their theory in the video that I made. And anyway, on the subject of the Time Lords, I have this cool idea that basically involves episode 7 being a bit Time Lord crazy, with the little girl being a time lady, additional TARDIS, Jenny's return, a possible duplicate of the Doctor, and even Riversong turning out to be a time lady. I think a very Time Lordy event is coming. Problem is that's only half the series. Anything could happen after the Battle of Demon's Run. Yeah, I think that's the thing I want to put the most emphasis on. With Stephen Moffat, anything goes right now. It would be, and I believe I said, in the follow-up comment I said, that could be quite epic. I said I'm only loosely following spoilers and such, but the Moff has truly made this series that can do just about anything. And that's the truth. That's the real truth. He can take it in any direction he wants, and we may be thinking it's going to go in one particular direction, but as I said, we could be completely blindsided by where it ends up going. To have a bunch of big Time Lordy event, and I know we have the 50th anniversary coming up soon. It would be great to see all these things come back. I would love to see a former Doctor. Even though it seems likely Eccleston's 9th will probably not be one of them. I adamantly and vehemently would like to see the 8th Doctor make a return, but who knows what's going to happen, really. It would be epic one way or the other. Luke Lightwolf 121, I hope I pronounced that right, said, once again, interesting theories, thanks, and we may be dealing with alternate realities converging since Big Bang, too. We, as well as the Doctor and his companions, don't know the long-term effects of Big Bang 2. The question may also be why Amy and Rory, and even River, seem to be contradicting themselves in both The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon. Each of them may be sharing memories with their alternate counterpart. Why did Amy tell the Doctor she was pregnant? What is the status of her child? Now, for me, this really is an astounding idea. The responses that I had already responded to this, but I said it's a really good point, converging alternate realities. The way you describe it sounds very plausible to me. It kind of fits with some of what we've seen, very intriguing. And then I also said, end with Amy's child. First run through of the episode, I felt like it was basically saying negative, meaning no baby. But in watching it over again, it seems to hesitate or flux between positive and negative, which is very curious. And I think it does lend credence to the idea that, maybe there's alternate realities converging. It's a very, it would seem to fall in line with the idea that Amy's forgetting certain things and then again she's stating like, yes, she's pregnant, but it doesn't, is she or isn't she? With Rory, as I said, it's almost like he's in a state of flux because he's both remembering and forgetting. And the whole River kisses the doctor thing, all of these things could be taken a few different ways, and that's the brilliance of Stephen Moffat. We could be looking at, three obvious ways the story could unfold, and again be completely blindsided by something we were not expecting at all. But I definitely think it's an interesting. It would kind of cover the basics of what we've seen, as evidenced by the three characters and their actions and their dialogue. But in the end, who's to really know? It's just so, it could go anywhere. But the next commenter is, I hope I'm going to pronounce this right, Abby Gable 94. Here's what I think he or she says. I think Amy is pregnant with Rory's baby, and that the little girl is their child that somehow got stuck in 1962. In parentheses, she looked about 7 in 1969, when the episode takes place. Probably kidnapped by the Silence. As for the powers, I think she's really Donna Noble, and becoming part Time Lady in the future affected her past. I can just imagine them saying once a Time Lord, always a Time Lord. Donna had her memories erased from the Doctor, or rather of the Doctor, but she still has some Time Lord-like powers, so maybe when she's near death she can remember it for just long enough to regenerate into a child and start her life all over again, not remembering her past. One of these regenerations could turn her into River Song, who might shoot the Doctor out of fear because he knows everything about her and she doesn't even remember meeting him yet. And as she said, she shot the best man she ever knew. River being Donna could also tie back into the episode from season 4 when the Ood said they would sing of the Dr. Donna, but also that the Doctor's song was ending, and maybe the Ood's song eventually ended too, leaving only Silence. Now, the Ood aspect of it is actually something I had occur to me as well, in taking into the consideration the potential for the Ood having evolved into the Silence. The thing I want to point out about that is after watching these two episodes, I kind of am now drifting away from the idea. It's still not impossible that there could be an Ood connection with the Silence, but I'm kind of drifting away from that idea now because when you think of the Ood being silenced, what would be silenced in effect is their telepathy, and it seems very apparent that the Silence are still, very telepathic. They lack a mouth, seemingly, and would have to communicate, I would assume, telepathically. So, in that very essence, they're really not silent. What does silence even mean when it comes to them? Is it simply that they don't have a mouth, or is it just the name of their race? It's kind of hard to say. But in talking about the child, the little girl, I think it's a very intriguing idea that, maybe because of Donna's being part Time Lady, it's kind of going back along her timeline and fluxing it. It would be an interesting, way for them to go. I loved the character of Donna Noble. I loved most of the companions. But, with hers, it was kind of like, as far as an unresolved story, if they wanted to go backtracking a little bit, hers would probably be one of the ones that I would like to most see. But I don't really think, unless they adopted the child, I don't really think you could actually link the possibility of being Amy and Rory's child with being Donna, because we've met Donna's family, and obviously they're very different from Amy and Rory. Although, as I said previously, there is an element of Amy and Rory both that they're kind of cloaked in a mystery. We don't really know as much about them as we probably should.